Welcome, welcome. While everybody joins us, go ahead and drop your name and where you're joining us from in the chat. Thank you all for joining Women's March tonight. Denver, I see. Asheville, hey. I'm a Minnesota girl, so hey, Minnesota. While everybody joins in, I just want to go over a few things. There is caption accessibility here. If you have difficulty with the captions, with the closed captioning, you can also go on the live stream on the Women's March Facebook page for closed captioning. So if there's any difficulty with it, there should be closed captioning there as well. We will be having questions in the chat and we'll capture as many as we can. If you are being trollish or if you spam the same things over and over, you will be removed. This is an organizing call, not a press call. So everything we say here is off the record. And this is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube. So welcome and welcome back to any of you who have been here for our prior calls. Excited to talk more about Kick Out the Clowns, the action that is occurring on June 14th across the nation with the anchor action happening in Madison. We are here tonight with our guest speaker for the evening, Donna Oblongata, performer and social practice artist. And we're gonna, I think, just dive in. She's a renowned social artist with deep experience in creative protest, and we'll share some tips and tricks for hosting a circus action. And hopefully Donna can help guide us through this process.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I think we want to start with just a question or two. Very simple stuff right off the bat. One of the biggest questions that I've gotten from the folks that are already hosting is, how can they do a circus on a really tight budget? It sounds big and ominous and like it's going to be really expensive. So how do we make this happen on minimal dollars?
Great question with an answer that could take this entire hour. But the first thing I want to say is if you are staging a circus and you have questions, please avail yourself of the video toolkit that I made and put together. There was a handful of videos that went out last week, and then there's 2 more new ones that are more about like actual hands-on making object stuff and just thinking about visuals that should be available starting today. So just to say that's like out there and you can reference it whenever. But some things I hit on in these videos that I think are really key is, right, like, and we know this from organizing world, your community, right? Like the resources that you have in your community, whether it's people like, oh my God, that cheerleading squad can be acrobats, or that dance troupe, or that, dad who does clown stuff for kids' birthday parties, or, the teenager who likes to practice magic, right? Like really, the drama club, the people who go to improv night, the people who go to the open mic night, right? No, you don't need professional performers. That's right. Everyone, and trust me, I know everyone is waiting to be asked. Okay. Everyone is there's a lot of hams in your life that you might not know. And, it's possible that your mail carrier is just waiting to be asked to run around in a clown suit. So that's like the personnel aspect. The stuff aspect, like costumes, props, you can thrift stuff and you can make stuff. When I talk about making stuff, like making big props and things, right, if you're super ambitious and you love crafting and you went to Joann's before they went out of business, RIP, and stocked up on everything, great. If not, bed sheets from the Salvation Army or your local thrift store are great fabric sources. Cardboard, you can get, a lot of people like refrigerator boxes, right? Like you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, say, can I get your used refrigerator boxes? For me, bike boxes, you go to a bike shop, especially this time of year, because they're just like big and flat. you can make anything out of cardboard. Paint, like you can go and buy paint. Hardware stores that mix paint often have like an oops section where they mix their own color. So instead of $30 a can, it's $8 a can, right? Just like really, right? Is there a local art school that has stuff? Is there just really, it's all about tapping your community. And, it's in my experience, it's a real stone soup situation, right? Like, oh, I have this bed sheet that I'm throwing away. I have a can of paint sitting around from when we painted the deck. I have, that's the short answer, but that's it.
Excellent. Because you brought up thrifting, I'm going to lean right into that and ask for not only the folks who are hosting, but people who are participating and attending. We don't want to see folks come out of pocket a lot, and we're very big on sustainability. And we're thinking there might be ways folks could thrift clown costumes or things that would fit in as a knife thrower or a strongman or those.
No question, right? Sorry, there's a siren going by. So the short, it's like a way to think about it, right? You can thrift, you can borrow, right? Again, is there a local high school drama department that has a costume closet? Or, or a local community theater that has a bunch of costumes lying around. So firstly check, or your local, right, cheerleading squad, gymnastics school, right, that have costumes lying around. That's one option. In terms of thrifting, what I think about when I think about circus things is, especially when we're thinking about clown stuff and things that are like circusy, thinking about bright colors, right? Bright red, bright yellow, bright blue, anything with sequins, anything that sparkles, stripes, polka dots, right? Big colors, big patterns, crazy plaid that clashes, right? Bright colors, things that don't match. And then in terms of size, you can get a lot of leverage or a lot of mileage out of things that are just totally the wrong size, right? So if you're a very petite person, borrowing a pair of pants from someone who is much, much larger than you, right, with some suspenders, boom, it's funny big clown pants, right? Or maybe you're a bigger person and you wear a teeny tiny little shirt that like shows your whole belly and it's goofy looking, right? So just really excuse me, really thinking about like things that are mismatched, things that are the wrong size or scale, right? Two different color socks, right? A striped sock and a polka dot sock. Borrowing and thrifting, and really just right? If you're in a family, maybe the really large dad wears the little girl's tutu around his head or something, right? Just really being willing to be goofy, silly, and play with what you have accessible to you.
Excellent, excellent. I know when we were talking about Madison, we talked a little bit about stage direction, about making things bigger and making things smaller, and really leaning into how to make it satire and how to make it stand out like that. Can you give us a little bit of detail on how folks can make their presentation really pop in those kind of ways that show off the satire portion that we're talking about?
Yeah. So again, big and silly, right? When I'm doing this kind of thing, I think a lot about cartoons, right? So I like, especially like Looney Tunes, like really classic, right? So if I'm thinking about a hammer or an anvil or, like the strongman, something, lifting weights, you think like the big cartoon barbells, right? Or like a big TNT dynamite, right? Stuff that we don't see in normal life, but that we all kind of have this collective understanding of from the language of cartoons. And again, you can make these things out of cardboard or any other cheap or free material. So really, and just thinking about making things big. I talk about this in one of the videos that's coming out in this second batch. Any prop that you're using, because once you're outside, I have this all the time, right? I'll be working on a prop inside in my studio, and my studio is pretty big. and it'll look huge, right? It'll look like, oh my God, how are we even getting it out the door? As soon as we get it outside, it's like this, right? And it's shocking every single time. So as large as you can make things, no matter, like, is really fun. And it's more fun to, it's so much more fun to run around with an 8-foot hammer than a little real hammer, right? So I would say if you're making some kind of a prop, right, like a fake hammer, a fake plunger, a money bag, and a chainsaw, whatever. You want things to be like, I would say at the minimum 3 feet wide, right? If you're making a big cardboard arrow to point, or a big cardboard dollar bill, like at least 3 feet, maybe more like 4 or 5. And that's just a guideline, right? Like, what you're making. I don't know exactly what everyone here is making, obviously, but like, really, if you want things to be big and visible and fun and add to this air of satire and cartoon and circus, big, like, yeah, minimum 3 feet. And it's funny, right? Like, if it takes 2 people to hold up a dollar bill or the Constitution or the scales of justice or whatever, it's funny, right? It's funny to have multiple people holding up a thing.
Absolutely. I think some of the things that you're mentioning are tying really well to the satire element as well. The economy, the dollar, the scales of justice. Obviously, those kind of things lean into the topic that we're talking about. When we think about like old timey circus stuff, like the strongman and those type of things, how do we want to move into those spaces while being appropriate and not poking fun at individual people? Or, as we know, circus history, there were some disability issues. How do we move into those spaces while making sure that we're doing it the right way?
Totally, right. And I'm a real big believer in, like, there is no one right way, but we can always do right. Like, we're not necessarily going to do the best job, but we're going to do a good job for a good reason, right? We're going to do our best with the best intentions. So I think, right, certainly top of mind, right, is always, right, things around ableism and things around cultural appropriation, right? So if we are thinking about things like a freak show, right, making sure that we are doing that with a lot of consideration for folks with disabilities, both present and historically. And then also, if we are thinking about things like a fortune teller, right? Making sure to not be doing some kind of like cliche, like offensive stereotype about like a gypsy, right? About like Roma people. So, but that's not to say you can't do a fortune teller, right? I think sometimes about, the like Zoltar fortune telling machine things, right? And so for me, and not everyone will agree with this, but for me, it's like, okay, well, if you are parodying that machine, that is different than parodying, a person of a specific culture. Will that read to everyone or be legible to everyone? That's another conversation. So I think, in terms of the like freak show aspect, for me, it's like, okay, what are things that are about certain skills or abilities that people might have? So for example, if we think about old timey like freak shows, right? Sure, there might be like the bearded lady or the lobster boy or something, right? Things that people were born with. But there's also this whole history of, like sword swallowing, or people who lie on a bed of nails, or fire eaters, right? Stuff that's more just like, people who hammer nails into their noses, right? Stuff that are these skills. And that, I feel like that is a much safer direction to go, because these are skills that people have acquired, rather than like identities around the way that obviously people were born, or cultural stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about the props and kind of the old timey stuff, it makes me think of, like I mentioned, the strong man and, a broomstick with maybe some balloons at the end, making it really big and things like that. and that leans into those costumes and all of that. Is there anything that you think in all that we've talked about so far that is a really important touch point that folks may be missing?
In terms of what, like stuff, like ways to do it, or things that they want to include?
I think in making it really fit that circus vibe, but still, like I said, stay into that satirical point of view. Is there anything that you think people should really know on how to make it pop in a way that no one has asked you yet?
Not that no one has asked me yet, but I feel like, and I kind of feel like a broken record, but I cannot emphasize enough, big and colorful. Like, if you if you take nothing else from any of this, big and bright, right? 8 foot, 10 foot banners, yellow, red, flags, not American flags, but like, like just big, bright colors. And I'm always very considerate with colors, right? Because we all have it, right? Like red and green is Christmas, orange and black is Halloween, red, white, and blue is the US, right? Like we have these this is my sports team, right? So just, it can be difficult sometimes to figure out a color combination that doesn't mean something to people. Red and yellow, very safe. Red, yellow, and blue, very safe, right?
Mhm.
Red, yellow, and blue, primary colors, bright, associated with circus, great. That doesn't mean you have to use those colors, but just big, bright, primary colors, that's what you need.
So there's kind of some questions that we've seen come up around clowns that are more like the It kind of Stephen King scary clowns versus comedy clowns. And I think there's an opening for also scary clowns, but how do we make that sort of thing fit if that's people's vibe?
That's a hard one for me because I am a clown and I teach clown, and so I have a very, very difficult time with scary clown tropes.
Mhm.
Kind of like with me saying, like, we don't want to be offending people because of, culture or ability or whatever. I'm like, I take offense as a clown to scary clown stuff, which I know can seem silly, but it's hard. I think the way that we in the clown community sort of talk about this is that if we think of clowns in a lot of places and cultures, a clown is really a sacred role. Like they really have a very sacred responsibility to the society to like point out hierarchy and tip things on their heads and show us the ridiculousness of our society and of ourselves. So if we think about those clowns as like the good clowns, right? Then the scary clown are the people who are pretending to be that, and but they're lying and they're not doing that, right? They're actually doing the opposite. Which this is again another conversation, but you could argue, right, that Trump and the MAGA movement is exactly what they're doing, right? They're saying, oh, these elites, oh, these people who are only looking out for themselves, oh, these people who've forgotten about the little guy and the regular American, And then what are they doing? Of course, they're transferring wealth to themselves and the uber rich and, totally screwing over the working class and the middle class. So, I think that's the way to think about it, is that if you're doing scary clown,
Mhm.
internalizing, you're pretending to be a good clown, but you are, which is the same thing as It, right? Like It is, that clown Pennywise, right? Like there's a or the Joker or whoever, right? Pretending to be good, not good. Wait, can you give me? Sorry, there's something at the door, and it's
Sure, go
can you
ahead.
vamp for a moment, Shauna? Vamp.
Yeah, actually I can, absolutely. So I did see one of the questions in the comments come up, and I happened to be watching while we're talking a little bit, and I saw someone asking specifically about how clowning is impactful in this fight for our democracy. What I'd really like to do is point folks to Women's March YouTube channel. We had Donna on a couple weeks ago, and we had a very specific conversation with veterans on the call, And we really talked deeply about how the circus ties to constructive protest, exactly what the question is about, and how we can do it successfully while we're not making negative digs at veterans. So you can check that out. There's a previous call with the wonderful Donna on Women's March, both on our Facebook channel as well as on YouTube. So you can go back and check that out. It was a really, really wonderful call. Great information all the way around on the veterans organizations who are actually, I'm going to just bump this, who are having a protest action tomorrow in DC. So let's make sure we're supporting them as well. But make sure you check out that video because that's going to really answer the questions on why. And you can check out their website, uniteforveterans.org. But it's going to answer all of the questions on why it's a circus, because that really was a very important conversation. We're getting really close to the event now. So I really want us to lean into like how we're doing this and make sure people's questions on the actual pulling this thing off. Let's pull it together in this last what do we have? A week and a half, right? Little less than a week and a half. And so in 9 to 10 days, we're going to be pulling this off. And I want to make sure everybody is prepared, and that if you haven't yet put something on the map and are considering hosting, that you do it. But also if you're just showing up and attending, that you know how to show up and feel confident in clowning and are ready to go. I think we can move into a little bit of Q&A if you're ready for that.
Yeah,
Excellent.
let's do it.
Excellent. I am going to trust our moderators to just pop them up on the screen for us, and we'll both be surprised by whatever comes up. I need an idea for another table activity. We have face painting. I would like a carnival game. Okay.
I would love to see, I'm sure that there are people in this meeting who have ideas already. So I'd love to see anyone who is working on something like that already pour it into the chat, because we can all benefit from each other's ideas. I know some things I've heard are, I've heard something about like fishing for facts, right? Like one of the fishing games, right? Fishing for facts. I've heard that one. I was thinking this one, I haven't thought it through very much, but I was thinking, like the throwing balloons or throwing darts at balloons. Is there something where we're popping, popping some kind of bubble, bursting bubbles? Is there something with that? Also, you could maybe, I know some folks in Massachusetts are working on something with a lot of like plungers, right? Like it's a shit show. So we need to get our plungers out. So is there something where you're, throwing rings around a plunger, or throwing the plunger at, or try to plunge the some, I don't know, the shit out of the something. Yeah, I would love to see people drop them in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have suggestions for all the other folks, there's thousands of people watching right now. Feel free to drop them in the chat. I would also say there's some really simple things we can do with cardboard again. We can create art stations and let people make things out of the cardboard that are clown related. And so that's also a nice use of the space, but interactive with folks. So that can be really fun. Do we have another one? All right.
Oh, wait. Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. Hold on.
All right, Donna.
Wow. Okay. This is real shit.
So ours will be a combined kick out the clowns and no kings. Not sure how to combine the two. So I think that is that's a really good question, how to combine the two and get kick out the clowns and have that no kings flair in it. I think clowns can be kings.
Like and also, I mean, the clowns can kick out the kings, right? Like that. I mean, traditionally, that is the role of the clown. Actually, is that the clown is the one person societally who is allowed to poke fun at the king, right? That's why every court has a jester, right? So, right, maybe it doesn't totally jibe with the kick out the clowns motto, but the clowns can kick out the king, right? Get a king, get the clowns to chase after him with a plunger. I know someone said no throwing plungers, it's dangerous, but obviously use your judgment. These are just ideas, right? Maybe they're cardboard plungers.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We
like
want
a
to
court
make
jester.
people want to make sure people are safe. I also happened to just catch quickly as I was watching. I watched the chat because I can't help myself. And I saw someone bring up tacos, and I think, listen, right now is the time of tacos. If you can think of taco games, like that's amazing. Go for it. Have a great time with whatever you can come up with.
Right? Make it, and I mean, if someone wants to, cover the cost of this, make it taco night, right? Have a taco bar.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Invite your local taco truck if you have those in your area. What big images do you? Oh, I have concern about other people going overboard with this theme so that the idea backfires.
I think it's reasonable always to have concerns about organizing strategies, and that I think that's reasonable. I often have concerns or hesitations around other folks' organizing strategies, or even ones that I'm part of. And this, like Shauna said, right, this is what we're doing, right? And so, like, this is what we're doing. If you've made it this far, then I hope you're on board. If you have really serious concerns, totally cool. Understand. I think I saw on the last mass organizing call, someone said, like, what do we say to people who think that this is a waste of time and resources and energy, and we should be doing something that actually affects change? For me, what I would say is, cool, go do that. Great. I'm going to do this. You do that. Takes all kinds.
Oh, I think we lost Donna for a moment. I think I get what she's saying though, and I'm gonna piggyback on that. It does take all kinds. And one of the biggest things that we want people to know is this is actually an escalation from a regular rally, a regular protest. So doing satirical action historically, which again, the previous call we
Am I
did.
still here?
You are, but we lost your camera there, Donna.
Oh
You're
no,
frozen.
hold on. But you can hear me. Okay.
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. So, right. Basically, I would just say, if you know.
Oh, I think we might have lost you again, Donna. Yeah, sounds like we lost Donna. But what I was saying is that this is an escalation of what we would normally do. And so this takes what would be a regular rally and takes it to the next level. And so not everybody wants to do that or is prepared to do that. And we understand that. But, we definitely need to push back at the kind of levels where we're seeing them push against us. So I think hopefully between what Donna had gotten to say and what I chimed in, I think that gives the basics of this. But I would also go back and listen to that previous call because we dealt a lot with these questions and were very specific and had input, like I said, from military folks and other folks on exactly what their opinions are of this. So I would take a look at it.
Yeah. You can see and hear me now.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry. I think the heat here is messing with the internet.
All right. Can one of the moderators drop our YouTube link in the banners for us as well? What big images do you think send the clearest message, and what about effigies?
That's a great question. I personally have never been a huge effigies fan, only because I think I'm daunted by making them. But if you want, I know for some people it feels great to make an effigy. I say go for it. Like, my guiding principle, and this is in the videos, and I know it sounds silly, but it's actually very, very strategic, is do what is resonant and fun for you. And I know that it can sound frivolous or it can sound silly, but when you do something that's fun and resonant for you, if it's fun and resonant for you, it'll probably be fun and resonant for other people. And it's the way that we fight burnout. It's the way we keep ourselves going. It's the way that we keep each other going. It's the way that we keep momentum, which, we all know this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? So if you want to make an effigy, if that sounds fun for you, I remember on the last call, someone said something about their voodoo doll, whatever, whatever does it for you, I say do it. Big images. So clearest message, I think it's about first knowing what your message is, right? Because we're all probably going to have slightly different messages, right? Yes, right? Big tent, right? Big circus tent. Yes, it's kick out the clowns, but right, your community might be really concerned about deportations. Your community might be really concerned about environmental regulations being rolled back. Your community might be really concerned about sell-off of public lands, right? So none of us can tackle it all. It's obviously too much. If everyone takes 1 to 3 issues, we're going to cover it all. So I think rather than thinking like what's the biggest, most important image, pick the issue or couple of issues that you want to focus on and then go from there. That's what I would. And remember always, we're focusing on the systems and the people in power.
Yeah.
Right? We're not focusing on our neighbors who voted for Trump.
Yep. 100%. I think that's great advice all around. And I do like the issue-based content as opposed to trying to make some massive overarching, depiction of the entire government and everything that is being bombarded at us. The shock and awe campaign is too much for us to deal with every day, let alone put into one circus most times. But picking 1 or 2 issues, 3 issues seems much more manageable. So that's great. We have more questions. Where can we find? So this is an easy one. I am the national distributed organizer, so I know that you can go to Women's March, womensmarch.com, and you can click events, and there is a big, beautiful map. And I say that satirically based on the big, beautiful bill. But there's actually a lovely map that we have up that shows everywhere there are actions. It also gives you the option there to host an action. If you're considering hosting an action and you're nervous and you're not really sure you can do it, you can reach out and both Donna and myself make ourselves available. So you can email sistermarch at womensmarch.com if you're considering it and, want some advice or really want to know if you think you can do it. I'm going to tell you, I've hosted locally. I've done that work and it's doable. There's no reason people can't do it. So hopefully folks step up to the plate and check out all those locations, and maybe we get a few folks from here to host.
And you really can do it. And I just want to echo Shauna to just say truly, sincerely, I've got office hours. I'm happy to meet with you for 30, 45 minutes and just brainstorm, encourage you, answer questions as much as I can. Like, please use me. I'm a resource, and this is what I love. This is what I do. So I'm more than happy. Even if you're like, I've talked to people who are like, I've literally never done anything like this. I've never organized something. I've never I'm impressed and grateful that everyone here is doing what they can and wants to contribute. So as far as I'm concerned, you have what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled that this many people are showing up to learn about it and to join us and really talk in solidarity about what this action looks like. Do we have more questions? I love the idea of everyone sitting down if aggression erupts to ensure that we're a peaceful protest. So I understand the thought process behind this. I don't think that it is. I don't think it's a plausible reaction for folks, to be honest. I think if anything aggressive were to erupt, that's not the natural response of folks. And so as much as I love the idea, I don't think it's feasible to expect when you have a crowd of that many people who are bringing their children and their families that they're going to sit down in the face of danger. So I understand where you're coming from with it. I don't know that is a feasible thing at a large march. It might be if you have 15, 20, 30, even 100 people, it might be possible. But as you get a larger action, I don't know that you could have impact on that natural fight, flight, fawn, freeze response. Is Trump supposed to see these? So yes, he watches everything we do. I don't know if everybody is aware of that, but he watches everything we do. If you think he is not glued to the TV every time there is a mass protest, watching to see if his actions are bigger, watching to see how many people show up, trying to maintain his ego. And that's what the satire is really here for. Do you want to speak to that part a little bit, Donna?
For me, it's so that's great information, Shauna, because I'm not on the inside like you, so I love that.
Mhm.
If not, what is the purpose of doing all this? The question, or the way that I always think, that I think there's a lot of answers to that, but when people say, oh, we go to all these protests and it doesn't change anything, couple things. One, okay, what if there were no protests?
Mm.
Right? Firstly, that, right? We see each other in the street. We see other people in other parts of the country, right? It inspires us. It grows our movement. It shows people, right? There might be some, I think especially about young people, right? Young people growing up in this political environment, right? People, young people of color, young queer people, young people with undocumented family members, right? Immigrants. Like, I think about, people who are, families who are in danger of losing their Medicaid or special education for their children, right?
Yeah.
Young people who are growing up in this political climate who might feel like there's no hope, like things are really dire, right? To see something like this, to see, especially maybe they live in a community where this is not happening, right? We have the internet, we have social media. They might live in a community where there is nothing like this happening. If that young person sees it and it gives them hope and it maybe inspires them to start organizing where they live, helps them make it out to somewhere that they can feel and live safely, helps them access information to maybe educate their family, right? Like, we can't always know what the result of what we're going to do is going to be, and we can't obviously we can't say these circus actions are going to flip the Senate or anything, right? We can't say that, but it truly does have an impact. And and yes, Trump is our target in a way, but our target is also everybody that we need to tip this thing over, right?
Yeah.
That's how I think about it.
Yeah, the system. Like, we're targeting the system, the whole system. So
and again, that's another reason to make it big, fun, colorful, inviting, right? That's not frivolous. It's not silly. It's actually strategic because it brings people in.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's see what we have here. So I just saw a question. I'm going to pop it up myself. And this one resonates with me because not everywhere can have a static space. And I have ideas, but I think you probably also have ideas. So I picture like drum majors and drums and like high knees and like, over exaggerated action. So what do you think, Donna?
Yep, absolutely, right? You don't have a drum, you get a 5-gallon bucket and some sticks, right? Like pots and pans and metal ladles, right? You don't need a professional drum corps. If you have a drum corps, that's great. I live in Philadelphia. There's a lot of awesome drum corps, but you can get a bucket and some pots and pans, right? Flags in these new videos, there's stuff about making like big, colorful flags that you can wave around. But yes, certainly if you have folks in your community who can make music that moves, right? Like accordionists, marching bands, brass instruments, stuff that, just instruments that can move is fantastic, And again, right? Is there a dance team, a cheer squad, gymnasts, people in goofy costumes? If there is some kind of tradition where you live of like a little parade tradition, right? Like, oh, the Shriners always do their Memorial Day thing or whatever. Every Christmas we have a big Santa thing, whatever. I don't know, whatever. But right, think about like, okay, who's in charge of that? Who runs, right? Like, oh, does the fire department want to bring out the truck, right, for this? maybe they don't, but maybe they do. It's always worth asking. It's
Mhm.
always, I think it's always worth asking.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I also, before I move on to the next question, I also had folks local to me who are using the boxes that we talked about earlier, and they are constructing what may or may not look like a Cybertruck, and they're wearing them with suspenders. You could easily drive those clown cars down the sidewalk. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
And I
Um,
am sure I haven't even Googled this, but I guarantee you, if you go on YouTube and search like make a Cybertruck out of cardboard, I guarantee you there's videos. I
Absolutely,
guarantee you.
absolutely. So why is the anger action in Madison? So I think there's a lot of reasons. We have a lot of political hot spots around the country, right? We see Amarillo, Texas, where we're seeing a lot of the things that are against women's health rights. And we see things happening in Madison, in Wisconsin specifically, where we see Judge Dugan being arrested, where we see Wisconsin legislature trying to push through bills that are really problematic. And so I think rather than holding one space constantly through the United States, we see that things are happening in other areas. And it's important for us to also draw our attention of the nation to those areas. And Madison is absolutely one. We know that there's big immigration issues going on there specifically because of what happened to Judge Dugan right now. But there's definitely multiple bills that they have been fighting. The folks that are our partners on the ground in Madison have been fighting locally for quite a while, trying to make sure that they overcome the state issues. And we want to make sure with the Supreme Court election that just happened there, that was won, that we continue pushing there for the right side of history.
Also, I just want to I just saw in the chat someone say, I saw instructions on how to make a Cybertruck pinata. Chef's kiss.
Love it. Love it. Can my event on 6/14 be sent to people who signed up for my rally in January? So for folks who previously hosted or had events on our map, if you want to send something to the prior folks, yes, you can do that. You would want to send an email to the Sister March email and get in touch with me, and I will help you do that on the back end. We also, for anyone who puts their event on the map, and this is the bigger picture, right? Everybody within a certain radius, 50, 100 miles of your event is going to get notification. As long as they're on our registry, they're going to get told you're having an event. So we're going to make sure we're promoting it for you. We're going to put things on our socials. We're going to make sure that folks are getting emailed and text and that people are going to turn out for you. And so getting on the map as soon as possible is your best bet to get the biggest turnout. And that's really how you make things move. Get it on the map. And as they say in Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. I see a couple of water balloons. Potential littering. Do you want to talk about that?
It's like we all make choices, right? I can't speak for everyone. I can't make the judgment call, right? We live under late stage global capitalism. We're constantly compromising, and doing things imperfectly. So it's hot where I am. Water balloons sound great and super fun. Maybe you do water balloons in a specific area and you have a cleanup crew of 10 volunteers who've said we will stay afterward and pick up
Mhm.
every single water, right? And you make sure they're really bright colors so that they are easily visible. Right. But I think, but just like sort of the larger, I think water balloons sound delightful, especially in the summer, right? So much fun. But kind of to the larger, I feel like the larger thing that raises for me, right, is this kind of like, oh, well, if we're going to buy costumes and then we're supporting Amazon, or it's part of like fast fashion and these, clothing mills and microplastics. And it's like, we can make ourselves nuts, right? So I'm not saying that those concerns aren't valid. They obviously are. But I just think as we do this work that, it is work and it is organizing and it is energy and it is, time consuming. I just think like, some grace with yourself, some, in your like some grace with yourself and your community, and some, take finding ease where you can, and just, you know, do, like, we're all like doing our best, and just doing, just doing our best.
Also, just sharing that both Donna and I are in Pennsylvania, where it is upwards of 90 degrees today, and we're both sweaty and hot. And water balloons sounded amazing, but they do make reusable water balloons. They make water balloons that are made out of cotton that you can soak in water and throw at people. There's also squirt guns, but I would recommend brightly colored ones that do not look like actual weapons. I find that probably to be the most plausible as far as making sure it is not mistaken. Have some clowns dressed up as street sweepers who clean up the balloons. That's amazing.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
See, creative problem solving at its best. Yes,
yeah, I did see someone also say Keystone Cops, as far as trying to make some bumbling ice folks, like Satire. Yes, 100%. Yeah, I love
it's
that.
great. I'm always a big supporter of anytime we're depicting cops or ICE. Don't make them scary. Make them big and stupid and bumbling.
Yep. 100%. And that's not to say that the situation is funny, but that's the satirical element, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that is appropriate and not it's directing at the system. Can we also carry signs? I mean, everybody makes signs. It's rough to tell a crowd that's large to avoid profanity, because you're going to have folks that make their own slogans. I feel very strongly we're going to see a lot of tacos, like we mentioned. There's going to be a lot of tacos this protest, which is hysterical to me. But it is hard to avoid profanity in this situation. I think folks in the chat can maybe give their best slogans or their best thoughts. I know that there's great chants out there, like share the wealth of knowledge, share it with your fellow folks online, and make sure you're, putting all that out there so folks can, collaborate and make these great signs because someone else had an awesome idea.
Yeah, like I'm seeing, would Trump melt if he got pelted with a water balloon? Beautiful, right? Get every kid in your town to throw water balloons at him. It'll be so fun, right? So fun, right? Everyone gets a little catharsis, and it's fun, right? So much fun. Very Wicked Witch, right? I know we all saw Wicked, so whatever. But but fun.
So I really want to speak to this one. Number one, yes, 100%. We are very pro Pride, 100%. There are multiple cities that on the 14th have Pride that day. Boston is one of them. Las Vegas is one of them. Dallas, Indianapolis. If you can tell, I've done my research on where Pride is happening. I want folks to know that it is Pride is joyful in most cases. And originally, obviously, Stonewall was a riot, and we're here to support folks who have fought to get where they are. That doesn't mean that you can't have a sideshow before you go to Pride. That doesn't mean you can't have your little sideshow action and then go to Pride. And so I think folks are under the thought that if it's Pride, you can't do anything else, and that it will somehow offend folks. And I just want us all to remember that we're all in this together, fighting for each other. And I guarantee you the folks at Pride know you're fighting.
Yep. And on the last call, there were folks who asked about like getting drag queens involved. Beautiful, perfect Venn diagram. Fantastic Venn diagram of like spectacle. There's a huge overlap with drag and clown. So I'd say absolutely, like if there are drag performers in your town and you feel like, and there's Pride stuff kind of overlapping, I feel like if you can do that outreach and make that connection is great.
So I want to take maybe 2 more questions because I know Donna has somewhere else that she needs to be, and we want to be timely for folks. So we'll take like 2 more questions, and all the links that we talked about, all the videos, everything will come out to everybody registered on the email. If you sign up to host an event, you will get the link to our toolkit. So that will come out automatically when you sign up to host. Is it too much to ask if we could play or sing a message? So I love this, and I think I would be remiss if I didn't tell you there are a couple flash mobs happening across the country in different places. So like, I love it. What do you think, Donna?
Why not? Right? And like I said, if it brings you joy, if you think you could get your community around it, if it's right, any of these creative actions, if it's something you can organize people around, fucking go for it. Why not? Absolutely. Let your creativity guide you. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So all of the links will come in the email that goes out to everyone who registered for the call. Most of our videos, as far as Women's March, are also available on the Facebook page as well as in the YouTube channel. But the videos will come out to anybody along with any links we've given in this call in an email after the call. So this is interesting. What if I made an in-house protest inside the house? I don't, so we're working on a couple things, and one of them is organizing from your bed for folks who maybe can't always get out. And it doesn't mean you can't share photos. It doesn't mean you can't, still have some sort of big event. It depends on how many people you can fit inside your house. So that's, I would say, where your limitation lies. But yeah, if you want to have folks over and do an organizing potluck or do that sort of thing, we see those. They come up and people meet in community and do that sort of thing. So it still is y'all building power, and that's what building this protest muscle is about.
Yep.
So I think we are about at time. Far as I can tell, that's where we're at. So I just want to, number one, thank all of you for attending.
Yes, thank you for doing the work you're doing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is so important.
Absolutely. Our next mass organizing call information will come to your email shortly, so keep an eye out for it. And on June 14th, you're going to hopefully all be at either the Anchor event in Madison for Kick Out the Clowns, or you will be at your local events, or you will be hosting an event, and we'll all be tied together intrinsically, historically, for all time kicking out the clowns. All right. Thank you all, and we'll see you in the streets.
Thanks, everybody. Go get them.